all of these events. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Travis Williams. I am the director of this event, so let me personally thank you for coming to Hillhops this year. We are thrilled to have you. If you didn't hear me say this before the first panel, the panels are really the heart of this event. This event has grown every year, but it started with just these panels, and they really mean a lot to me, and it means a lot to me to see all of you here today. But you're not here to see me, you are here to see LatinX leaders in brewing, and we have some phenomenal panelists for you, and I'm going to shortly get out of their way. I do want to encourage you, after this, the polka band starts at 7, and the Brewers Hall is open till 8. Please make sure to go make new friends, see the same 6 people you see at everything, grab some food, have a good time, and thank you all for being here. And now I give it to your panel with your moderator.
Did we all made it on time? Hi everyone, thank you for being here at LatinX Leaders in Brewing. I'm Emily Bernate. I'm one of our Spanish professors here at St. Edward's. First, I would like to get us started off by just having you present yourselves. You don't have to say anything weird like, you know, favorite color, pet's name. Maybe just your name. You can do that too if you want. Maybe just your name, where you work, and how you got started in brewing. I think that would be a good way to kick it off.
I get to go first. My name is Marco Rodriguez. I am head brewer at Celis Brewery. I think I got my start, like a lot of people get their start in brewing, just home brewing. I remember seeing a kit online somewhere, I wanted it for Christmas, and then it just kind of took off into a career.
Hello, my name is Jerry Coreas, and I'm the head brewer at Cottonwood Creek Brewery out in Hutto. And I got started kind of the same way, just home brewing and just volunteering at a brewery. Got my start that way.
Hello, I'm Sheila Garcia. I'm the Education and Events Manager for the Texas Craft Brewers Guild. And I know these guys are on the production side, I'm actually on the hospitality side. But my start came for just having a love for small business. And when I wanted a career change, I worked in radio for 10 years, worked at Whole Foods for a couple years, and then just fell in love with small business and realized that craft beer was a small business. So that's how I got here.
Howdy, I'm Jonathan Flores. Most people in the industry know me as Flo, but I got into the industry after working at a vodka distillery for 7 years, and I hate vodka. And funny enough, Sheila was probably the one that responded to my email. They got me into the beer industry, so I had a little bit of experience with packaging stuff, so that kind of tied me into being able to fall into a job that also did the same thing, so yeah.
Fantastic. You can keep it there if you feel so inspired to start us off. We're starting with easy questions first, and then I think we'll get into other things that are more student focused. Why don't you just share another easy one? What's most enjoyable in your line of work?
I mean, there's a lot I could say. I think just the camaraderie you have with the people that you work with, the friendships that you make along the way, but also, you know, getting to experience the customer, the consumer, enjoying your beer, seeing someone, you know, for me, you know, I'm not a brewer at this point. I've been a brewer before, but, you know, seeing people drink my cans out and about, you know, that kind of stuff really makes me happy and excited to be in the industry.
Yeah, definitely the people, but to give a little different answer, just, you know, events is part of my gig now. It's been part of my gig for the 10 years I've been in the industry. And so just being able to start with just a random idea that might come up from the brewer side that have no idea how to execute the event, but they have an amazing, insane, chaotic idea to make happen. And being able to see that through to fruition, and again, just ties back to the people and them enjoying the product at that event.
For me, it would have to be the creativity of like beer, just getting 4 ingredients and putting it together. And, you know, the community what we're all about, that's a really good one. That's why I like being in the industry.
It's pretty similar to the community. That's something I never really thought about going into craft beer. It was all about the beer, making beer, quality. But we began to work with other breweries, doing collabs, restaurants, get to know a lot of people in the bar industry. And it just really changed my perspective on things. When I go to see a live music show, I realized that that's that person's craft. And so I appreciated things from a different outlook at that point.
So this is a question that I think Sheila reminded me of, that even though you are all in the craft beer industry, not all of you are brewers. So for the students or job curious out there, they're not students, what are some of the lesser known career paths within the craft brewing field? Something that might inspire somebody that doesn't just want to make beer, but they're interested in the industry.
Oh, it's tough. I've been stuck in the brewery, like warehouse aspect of the job, the industry for 10 plus years now. But you meet a lot of people, vendors, suppliers. I know a lot of people transition to hop sales, and they may move to Yakima, Washington. So there's a lot of hands that touch the product, and so there's a lot of routes you can
go. Just basically like marketing is another one, as well as like event coordinators. That's a good one. Lab work, if you're into science, that's a really big one.
Yeah, tip of the hat to the panel before us, the graphic designers, right? You like to create art, graphic designers. I think just to go off on the tangent that Marco was saying in regards to, you can work at a brewery itself with a myriad of ways, but thinking about all the other industries that support us. So at the Texas Craft Brewers Guild, we actually have 7 member categories. Operating breweries is our main focus to support those brewers. We also have brewery and planning members, and then we have education and workforce. That's what St. Edward's is one of our members in that category. We have a nonprofit as well. We have a few members in that category, and then Brew City, Texas, which is a tourism, your education or economic development, CBB organizations. We have about 40 members in that category. I don't know what I'm counting to yet. Oh, Allied Trade, that's the hop sellers, your merchandise providers, your insurance, all the people that sell products to brewers. And I know I'm forgetting one, but all of that can get you access to supporting the industry.
I won't piggyback so much on them, they covered a lot, but you know, me coming from my background currently as a packaging manager, one thing that is the big introduction to getting into the breweries are usually packaging. It is a career path if you decide to do so, but you know, one of my favorite things about working for Pinthouse is one thing that we do is we will find employees in-house that are working behind the bar, in the kitchen, wherever, you know, whatever they're doing. If they have interest in it, we'll, you know, obviously give them some time and try to figure out if we can get them in the back. So I think currently most of the people that work under me are mostly from our kitchen or bar, and I think I have like 2 external hires that just, you know, were needed on the fly, but I am very proud of having worked for Pinthouse, who brings on people that are interested in other places inside the wheelhouse of Pinthouse.
And what does one study if they want to get into packaging or packing?
That's a good question. A lot of people that I've hired over the years, some with a little bit of experience. I usually look at how mechanical someone can potentially be. You know, I used to joke at my old job, it's like, if you can put 1,000 puzzle pieces together, you might be able to do some work. It's a lot of troubleshooting and trying to put the pieces together, you know? But yeah.
So what is something that you're most proud of as a LatinX brewer?
Man, I think over the years, there's been a lot of reasons to be proud of being a LatinX brewer. I think one thing that I really enjoyed, and I'll let Sheila talk about it probably here in a little bit, is we had a festival at Hops and Rain, you both worked there, that was Chingona Fest. and it brought a lot of people from the east side, a lot of the, the native east siders, Hispanic, Mexican, Latino culture, and it really just gave praise to the women in the culture, but also reminding people that that part of town was very cultured by the LatinX community, so stuff like that.
Yeah, just to expand on that, Hops and Grain is a brewery on the east side, so that's where Flo was hinting at being in the Latino community over there. And for the Chingona Fest, we had women performers for that. We worked with a woman, a Latinx designer for the can, and then we brewed a beer that we felt was going to be approachable for the Latinx community. I don't know if it was quite a Mexican lager, but it was just an easy drinking lager. It's been a long time. It was like 2018, 2019. But yeah, it was super exciting to be able to present an event that, you got to meet the community that you're trying to reach where they're at. They can't exactly come in and immediately drink a triple IPA and just be like, oh yeah, I like that. No, they're going to have to start with an easy drinking, match what their palate is, and get them to where you want them to be.
Yeah, well, in Hutto, the community is really open, and so it just brings everybody together, and they all love drinking the Mexican lager, so that was pretty good.
I think one of the things I'm most proud of is just kind of living the home brewer's dream, opening a brewery. I did that in 2015 with Zilker Brewing, but with Zilker, I was able to work with a number of nonprofits, one of them being the Parks Foundation. And I remember visiting one of the little playgrounds for kids that our money went towards building, so I thought that was really cool.
Chingona Fest is something to be very proud of, I would say.
Thank you. Awesome. I saw the poster on my wall. It's framed.
Great event. So we talked about some things that you're most proud of. What are some barriers that you have encountered? They can be identity related, or they can be career related, or with the idea of being a brewer in Austin.
Oh, I feel like there are so many barriers early on, going from home brewing to a commercial sized brewery, everything from learning the equipment to yeast harvesting, cell counting, to managing a team of 7 people, which I have no training in. So it's just kind of learning as you go, learning how to be a leader, and that was, I don't know, not so much a barrier, but it's not something I really saw happening. Going into it, I just want to make beer, and then I'm doing employee reviews yearly and whatnot, so there's a lot of unforeseen challenges along the way.
Barriers. For me, I'd have to say, with just the way craft beer industry has been going, a little bit down, I was part of a brewery closing, and so that was pretty tough. And then just seeing the brewery close, and then knowing what you're going to do, and then being given the opportunity to help start up a brewery. So it was trying to get over that barrier.
I think for me, one of the barriers is that my last name is Garcia, or Garcia, as my dad would say. But I don't speak Spanish. I learned it in school, 6th, 7th, and like 8th, 9th grade. I've got a little bit, but my girlfriend's 7-year-old is in dual language and knows it way better than me. So it's, while I am Latinx, my dad's Mexican, my mom's white, and I represent the community, but it's hard. So I've tried to do Duolingo and get back in it, but I think there's a crossover there that does help support, reaching out. So that's been a barrier for myself.
I think I was, I don't want to say, I'm sure there's plenty of barriers and things that happened along the way, but I felt very accepted when I got into the beer industry. And as time's kind of grown, I've seen more Latinx people be into the industry, get into the industry, or be, just at least curious about it. So, kind of seeing that growth has been really cool. For barriers, I don't know. I feel like learning a lot of the, as Marco mentioned, you get into it and you start doing a certain thing, which is what you love, your craft, brewing beer, packaging, whatever it might be, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, okay, now I'm in leadership. Now I have to talk to people, quarterly or whatever, it might be. So those could have been challenging, initially. I try to forget about that because I feel much comfortable at doing it now, but I think once you get to that point, it's nice, but I think the discipline part too, there's a lot of things that you have to deal with. I'm not 100% great at, coming down on people, which is something you need to be really great at, but it's hard to, come down on people and you have to coach and be able to make sure that they understand what you're expressing, and, keep a level head and be patient and work with people. So, that stuff's really important. Especially for the culture for the brewery that you're working for.
All liberal arts skills. You can get at a liberal arts university. I have lots of questions for them, but I think it would be great if some of the audience had some questions for them as well.
Oh, you go first.
I was going to ask, so being Latinx in the beer industry, do you find that you're hyper aware of certain aspects that you really find yourself focusing on because it's important to you?
That like are are compared to like being Latinx.
Yeah.
I think there's like a learning curve for some businesses and cultures to understand what's going on. I think predominantly most breweries are owned by a white family, white male or something. So, what I think I've learned over the years is most of the people that I've worked for are very easy to embrace that culture and make sure that it is part of it. It's obviously not always going to be 100% part of what we're doing and part of the business plan, but the fact that we're including it and it's inclusive to the process, I think is really cool.
Yeah, excuse me. I think for me, it's always nice when you get to see people that look like you in spaces that you're in. And so if I'm at an event, and as Travis said, try and meet some new friends and make some new friends. If I see someone who I feel is Latinx or, I also represent LGBTQ, like I'm going to say hi, I'm going to reach out, let them know like I'm in the industry too and have that conversation because I think that's important to have that connection. And, we're all up here today representing, but like Flo said, it's been nice to see our community grow within our industry.
For me at Cottonwood, we hire like a lot of Latinx people, and so it's good just being around the community, and also since I speak Spanish, it's always good to like get along with them really well, and so that helps.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Is anything that you find yourself sort of being hyper aware of or wanting to focus your attention on?
Yeah, at Zilker I would say no, but going to Celis, we're all Hispanic there in production, so that was weird in a way. Like, whoa. Usually it's a white guy, there's got to be one white guy with a beard there. But they've been there for a while, they're great guys, and it wasn't a shock or anything, it's just something I noticed. I don't know, maybe it's led to a quicker bond there within the team.
So I was just kind of going back on your all's barriers, right? I feel like that's a pretty big thing for a fellow Latinx as well. And I guess like what, in each of y'all's perspectives, like what, like how did you guys, I guess, overcome those barriers? Also like, like for also a fellow Latinx, like especially for like Marco, and like, I'm sorry, I wasn't here. Jerry, nice, yeah. Like, being a head brewer, being a person, and also everything. Head brewer, owner of a brewery, like, there's these, like, things that come with being Latinx as far as, like, I guess, background. Like, my parents didn't know much about running a brewery. They don't know much about businesses. They just kind of, like, came here to, like, kind of just live the life, you know, like there's not that knowledge of like opening up a brewery. How do you do that? You know, becoming a head brewer. How do you do that? Sheila, going through like all of like the Texas Craft Brewers Guild, like, you know, how did you overcome these barriers of like that are just not seen by everyone else, but except in that like your Latinx person, I guess, is, you know.
I'm also happy to pass the other mic. You guys are the most organized panel I've ever seen. I've never seen people pass a mic that orderly. I was like, wow. I was fully prepared to like jump up and move these around if you guys want to share some.
Yeah, I think, I mentioned my barrier was my lack of true Spanish speaking knowledge, but I do have some, and so I think reminding myself that even with somebody where I can say, you know, cerveza, you know, naranjo, like, you know, like whatever word, yeah, exactly, yeah. Chingona, any words that I can say that at least give descriptors, or that makes them feel a little bit more comfortable, like, oh, like, buenos dias, like, you know, whatever I can pull out of my vocabulary to connect there. I also stopped by one of the booths, Go X and Go ATX, they're the students here, and it's a public speaking, so I found out St. Edward's, you have to have a public speaking course to graduate here, and I was like, that's amazing. Like, you know, I know you all know me as a public speaker. I do enjoy it, but it was not a trait or a personality. I did not enjoy it as a high school student. I don't even know where it came about, but I love that that's that ability. So for me, putting myself in opportunities to break that barrier of, you know, having the confidence to speak in front of people, as well as, you know what, I know that they're just going to appreciate if I can speak some words rather than, you know, feeling like awkward and not doing anything. So.
Give me a summary of your question again.
Just like what advice do you have to like for someone to, you know, I guess for your barriers for like, you know, I guess it was like managing people, like, you know, and I don't know, it's just like not a lot of us didn't really know how to like manage people. We never thought about this like concept, right? So like what
So a lot of my experience was just kind of learning as you go, you know, dealing with people and just, you know, it can be hard to experience when you're going from, you know, everyday just, you know, daily work as a brewer or packaging person or whatever it may be in the brewery. But for me, it was just kind of learning how people react to how I talk and how I should respond to them. It's a big learning curve, especially when you don't have any like training or experience behind it. So I think just kind of dealing with people and dealing with it day to day, and really just trying to be more patient with the people that, you know, everyone is very emotional anywhere and everywhere, and everyone's allowed to do that, but we have to be level-minded at, you know, at our workspace and remember, you know, that you have to be responsible with your emotions. So making sure that that is being correlated with, you know, the employee and the manager, but yeah, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was easy. I think a lot of my time to get to where I was as a manager was a lot of just long hours and work, and I don't suggest that for anyone, so do not allow your employer to do that, please. But no burnout, please. But you know, some of that it was a big learning experience for me, and it taught me how to try my best to not allow that to happen to other people. So you know, I dealt with bad managers, I dealt with people that were hot-headed and said really mean things along the way, but you know, over the time that I dealt with that and experienced it, I learned to not to be that person and try to, you know, you have to give everyone a chance. You have to give people second chances as part of the process. You know, I've told my team before, you know, you got to break an egg to make an omelet. I stole that from someone else, a manager of mine, who was also kind of mean. But we won't get into that. But you know, it's just, you know, people are going to make mistakes, and you got to be accepting of it.
I don't know. I would say just kind of good old-fashioned grit was my go-to for the longest time, just to tear down barriers, accomplish things. Worked 19-hour days. You know, felt nauseous at the end of the day. but would also lean on my partners, and I grew to lean on my team a bit more as I learned to manage them. And I really realized that a supportive environment, supportive work environment, was really important to me. And so then I started kind of creating that and embracing it more within my team, and then things got a lot easier for everybody on the team, including myself. No more 19-hour days.
For me, one of the barriers was family. Because my dad's from El Salvador, my mom's from Mexico, and they both immigrated over to Texas in the 80s, and they both worked like hard jobs trying to support us, and we got into St. Ed's and we're here, graduated. And then when I told them that I'm gonna be working at a factory, at a brewery, they're like, what do you mean? We work so hard so you can become somebody else. And I told them this is what I want. And it's just recently, thanks to like Cottonwood Creek, giving me the opportunity, they realized it was more of a career path rather than just being at a warehouse. And nothing's wrong with that, but just, kind of one of the barriers was family.
Any questions related to that? Before I jump in, I can really sympathize, because you can imagine when you're a Spanish speaker, if you say, guess what, I'm going to teach Spanish, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, are you taking the easy way out? What are you doing? Like, why are you going to study Spanish? You speak Spanish. So how do you respond to, we're in career-driven families who, we're not going to deny that they have sacrificed and maybe have a vision for you. For students that are interested in a non-traditional career path, how do you have that conversation with your family, or even just start planting the seeds to make family aware that there are other ways of success and other career paths in life that don't necessarily put you in an office?
I've been fortunate enough to have a very supportive family along the way for what maybe someone would consider a crazy jump from making good money out of vodka, so I hate vodka, into the beer industry where I made less money, but I made it work, and everyone, it doesn't always work out that way, but yeah. I feel like that's something else that will come back to me.
I think for my family, I agree, I have a very supportive family, but I think one thing, my parents worked for 2 entities for 38 and 46 years each, and so I think for me it was just like, that's just not the way of the world these days. I worked at breweries for about 9 years, and I worked at 3 different breweries in that time, and then now I work for the Guild. So reminding them, like, it's okay, like there are, none of my opportunities really they were just by chance, but they all became very exciting, and I'm glad that I had them, because they all led me to where I am today. So I think for them it was just like, I'm not going to stay at the same place for decades. Glad that worked for you, but here we are.
For me, it took about like 14 years for them to finally come around. I mean, they're like hardcore, like, Spanish people. So
Yeah,
they're really hardcore. So it took them a while. And then once, they saw, just the community kind of, they came around.
Yeah, I think I was pretty lucky to have a supportive family. I think they saw the passion and the hard work I was putting into this one thing. And there's kind of no questions asked, and so they just supported me. I feel lucky.
My mom's not a beer drinker, but me being in the beer industry has allowed her to try the beers that I've contributed to, which has been nice. So I love that.
Yeah, I'll go off on that. My dad's a Miller Lite drinker, that's his macro, but boy, does he get so excited every time I bring craft beer home. He trades it with his friends, he's a NASCAR guy, he's a fishing buddy, like, he loves it, and he'll seek it out on his own now. He got obliterated on a devil's backbone growler back in the day. I was like, I came home and he was barbecuing outside and a little wobbly and having some dancing. I'm like, Dad, like what happened? He's like, well, I finished it. I was like, you finished the devil's backbone? Growler? Back when we did growlers, so you know how old that was. But anyway, it's definitely been fun to have that time, opportunity to share the product. Yeah.
My parents don't drink. That's why they don't kind of like at odds.
Yeah, I have a similar story to Sheila's, except it involved my grandpa.
Hell yeah.
My dad got into the beer I made, and we took a 6-pack of Marco IPA to my grandpa and grandma's house, and it's a 7% beer, and my grandpa was used to drinking Keystone Light, whatever, and he only drinks at one speed. It was pretty fast, I found out. And he drank 4 Marco IPAs in, I don't know, about 45 minutes or less than an hour. And he was pretty stoned, and he really didn't get out of that chair.
I will say, one thing about, Marco and that Marco IPA that came out, I don't know, when did y'all release that at Zilker? 2017?
16, I think.
16? When I saw that, it was definitely like a moment in time where I was like, I'm very proud to be a brown man. You see the blanket on there and you see it at stores. It's whether you work there or not, it was just really cool to see out in the market. So I applaud you for that.
So, my Latino side of the family, when they drink beer, it is the typical Dos Equis, Corona, Miller Lite, now that they're in Texas, Coors. How do you make the craft beer industry inviting and welcoming or appealing to a Latinx market? Or is that something that you're not focused on?
I can't speak for Pinthouse as a whole, but my experience there and having a Mexican lager burros breakfast and being able to present that to my family has been pretty awesome. And they accept it and they think it's the best thing ever. So, it makes me proud that the brewers at Pinthouse are capable of making something that ties in not only my family, but, the Latinx community. And I would hope, many other people like it, but, it's just kind of our version of a Mexican lager that ties in with your Tecate, your Modelo, it goes on.
Yeah, I think, I don't make the beer, but having events, again, like I've done Hispanic Heritage events in, the month of September, October, Dia de los Muertos, celebrating Selena, Chingona Fest. We'll just keep shouting that out, R.I.P. But yeah, having those events that are inviting and just to tie back into the Marco can, like the Zarape label, like it really was an awesome sight. So cheers, Marco. Salud.
My style of brewing, I make approachable, kind of light, easy drinking lagers. So I found that's what kind of in the community of Huddle they really gravitate towards too. So, just make it approachable, not too hoppy beers, basically.
With the Marco IPA can, I just thought it was a cool design. The blankets, my family members had a number of those blankets, but it was cool that it had that kind of effect on you guys. So I'm really happy for that. Yeah. At my first birthday party that we had in Zilker, Zilker's on the east side of Austin. We drove down to Raquel's Partyland off of East Cedar Chavez, and I wanted the theme of plethora of piñatas from 3 Minutes movie. And we loaded up the pickup truck, and driving down back from Chavez all into the brewery was this piled high back of the truck with piñatas from Raquel's Partyland. And we just hung them up all over the brewery. That was pretty cool. I hope that was inviting to Mexicans. Local guys.
That perfectly leads into the next question. That's, aside from the taste of the beer, what other strategies do you have to make the craft brewing space more inviting to the Latinx community? especially when we're very loyal to specific large beer brands?
Just brewing more Mexican lagers, brewing local Mexican lagers. Now with Celis, we're brewing a beer, more regular. It's called Tex-Mex, but we're working on the branding. It's one of the top sellers in the tap room, and we're looking to get that out more. Maybe not on the lines or scale of Brewers breakfast, but we're looking to get it out there in some local Mexican restaurants and whatnot, and start working with the small local businesses out there.
Yeah, just keep brewing Mexican lagers and just approachable beers and try to, beers for everybody, essentially.
Yeah, I think, branding is a big part of that, and truly authenticity, right? Like, we're not sitting up here saying, like, everybody just brew a Mexican lager. Like, if that's not your identity or your authentic thought process as a brewery, then, don't force it. But if you have a member, and looking back at our time at Hops, we might have been the only Latinx. I'm trying to think, right? So,
I thought about that earlier.
yeah, but like it takes, us having a voice and like, speaking up for what we want in that industry and having, leadership that welcomes that is obviously part of it. But yeah, I think making sure that it's authentic is just as important.
I can't necessarily remember all the things that have tied in for the Mexican Heritage Month or just any type of, Latinx adjacent thing, but I know we've done a couple things to potentially entice people to come in, being our Negra Modelo kind of version of Burroughs, which, I think we tried to do that around May. I think you brewed it. I can't remember where we brewed that, but, I think that helps to entice some people. But again, approachable beers, I'm typically, like, every day I stop in the tap room, I talk to our regulars, and then I kind of see just what's going on in the tap room. And you typically see a lot of people that come in and they just want to try stuff and they don't know what they want. It could be people with the Latinx community or any part, culture. But it is cool to see that people get inspired by enjoying beer by just light, approachable beers and stuff that can potentially, tie into a Mexican lager or something similar.
As long as it's hot here, I feel like.
Someone wants a light beer, cold light beer.
As long as it's warm, although it's about to not be.
It's a little bit, right? I hope so.
It's about to not be. What goes into branding a beer, and what kind of things do you take into account, especially because Sheila mentioned authenticity. When you go about branding a Mexican lager, what goes into branding so that you don't just fall into the stereotype of putting a big sombrero on the can and going, oh, it's Mexican?
I think, I don't want to say too much, but I think that we had a learning curve. Maybe, I've been with this company for about 5.5 years, and I think there was a learning curve for presenting beers like that. And doing it at a brewery that is predominantly white males, or just, white in general. I think that they learned how to do it the right way, and I think there was some approaches that may have been a little bit more not so ideal for Latinx community. So I applaud Pinthouse for recognizing that there potentially was mistakes in some branding and stuff. But I think what ended up coming out of it was Brewers Breakfast, which is one of my favorite beers. I think a lot of brewers love it post shift, shifty beer. But this day and age, it's going to happen where someone makes a mistake, and it's just, I think teaching people that are less aware about it, and it's just great to know that, a company like this recognized it and fixed it.
Trying to think back, I don't know if it was our first one, but we brewed Suerte lager at Hops and Grain, and it became Suerte Restaurant on the East Side's house beer. And so for us, like, that was the owner of Suerte, Sam Hellman Moss, came from Odd Duck. Josh knows the Odd Duck family from his time back. It's a crazy tree of Austinites there. But to not go on that tangent, they already had a natural partnership and friendship. And when Sam was opening his restaurant, and he was like, "You're down the street, like, why don't we make a beer?" I honestly, we didn't call it Suerte Lager in the brewery at first. I can't remember what it was called, but when we partnered, it was like, well, yeah, let's just call it Suerte Lager. And so that was just, again, it was Chingo. That's right, we relabeled it, yeah, because we didn't get label approval for Chingona to sell out in the market. It was just from the tap room. But yeah, so like, but it was an actual authentic partnership that came out of that.
I don't do very much graphic.
I'm trying to remember the evolution of the Mexican lager at Zilker. I think it was just called Mexican lager at one point, just in the tap room, and then we started to move it outside the tap room for sales, and we talked to the Grackle, which is like a dive whiskey bar across the street from Zilker Brewing. And before it was the Grackle just celebrated the 15-year anniversary. Before it was the Grackle, it was called Primos, and Primos was a Tejano bar. As a lot of the businesses were on the east side. And so that's kind of what we went with. And the Grackle was our first account for that beer. And so that became the name of the beer. And I thought it was pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
Maybe this is me being kind of naive about beer, but I know that we're very close to Mexico, and we're so everyone's talking about it as often. But is there part of your history, like your family's from El Salvador, is there a difference between like maybe another country in Latin America that you're interested in their beer because of their roots? Is that different than a Mexican lager? Anything like that?
A lot of the beers, I've had some beers from like Central America, and they're just basically like bottled, kind of no hoppy, just really like skunky beers. Like, so, yeah, because they're like a lot of like kind of island beers and stuff like that on the coast.
Yeah, I think that's probably a question we'll all be thinking about. But I haven't really had any other like Latinx country lagers, but like you think about it, like there's German lagers and Czech lagers, but there's also Japanese rice lagers. Like there are a high variety of international lagers out there. No Flo's got an idea here.
So if you're not aware of the history, a lot of Mexico started brewing a lot of beer because of the Germans coming down. And one thing I thought about earlier today was Austin Beer Works had a German-Mexican party at the, I can't remember what that bowling alley is called, the Schultz Garden?
Schultz Garden.
They had a really cool party over there, and what was cool about it was the culture brought not only Tejano music, but also, or Conjunto Tejano, it was also like polka, because the Germans taught the Mexicans how to play the accordion. And some of the best songs I know growing up, at a quinceañera or something would be with an accordion. So I thought that was always a cool tie-in. So I think the reason why Texas has a lot of tie-ins with these specific styles is because it ties in with the European culture of having German lagers and German pilsners. So when you think of like just any beer in Mexico, it kind of ties in. So I think the Negra Modelo is a big reason why, the Europeans were a big reason why they made those kind of styles. So yeah, I am not aware of any other South American country or Spanish culture that has a particular style, but if you find out, let me know.
And it could evolve, right? Like
In South America, it tends to be very lager style, all of it.
Yeah, I've done a lot of, well, not a lot, but every Central American country I've been to, typically, it's like a Mexican lager, with maybe the exception of Cuba. They did have some macro beer, Crystal and Bucanero, like a pirate on it. It was like a Mexican lager, but I found a craft brewery in Cuba, and it was small, and they only had one beer on tap, because they had a menu of a few, but they can only get like certain ingredients. Everything's really scarce there. So it's kind of sad, but the beer was really good. And I met the brewer, this old guy, and he was just really excited to meet somebody from a craft brewery in America, and I gave him like a Zilker hat and whatnot. He was just super appreciative.
So, any more questions before we? You're welcome. We have time for another question or two. Okay, maybe the final question can be, or I was going to ask something about more like student-related advice, but I see also professors. We could use some advice too sometimes. So when somebody's walking into a brewery or a beer-focused event, what's something that you want them to feel, or what's something that you want them to know about that space?
I just want them to feel welcome. I want them to feel a good vibe when they walk in. I want to see a happy face when they take that first sip. I don't want to see a weird bit of beer face or whatever.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking the same thing. You just, everybody's welcome, everybody's family, or it's libations, everybody just come together and just have a good time.
Yeah, literally the first word that came to mind was welcome, and right before Jerry spoke was family. Like it really is about the people. We started out the conversation, I think, answering with the community, and that's what we want. We want everyone to feel that we work in the industry, but we want anyone from the outside to also feel like they're part of the family.
Regulars. I want to see regulars. But also, I just want to see the smiling faces of people and dogs. As many dogs as you can see. I want to pet that dog.
I hear so much cool community going on outside, and I want people to experience that kind of welcoming family community building out there. So if we don't have any more questions for the panelists, I'd like us to give them a round of applause. Really wonderful to hear from you all. And as we are filing out, I would love to hear from you guys what your favorite craft beer is here in Austin. But you don't have to say it on camera. You can tell me.
Does it have to be craft beer?
So we're gonna go with vodka.
Gin and tonic.
So you're gonna go with vodka?
My favorite craft beer, I want to, outside of Pinthouse, I want to say Mr. Aaron's here with St. Arnold and his crew. I love St. Arnold all the time, and it was a big reason why I appreciated beer early on. Probably younger than I should have. Don't follow my lead. But, St. Arnold was a big inspiration for loving beer for me.
Well, this is tough because I have, about, 150 operating brewery members. So I'll just look back at the three that I worked for, which is Hops and Grain, Austin Beer Works, and Holdout. And the one I can get most readily available is Austin Beer Works. And I also it's a recognizable can, it's easy to drink, and it's available. So.
Which one?
Well, Austin Beer Works, my favorite one is Flavor Country, which is their New Zealand pale ale. It's the purple can.
Oh, okay.
See, recognize it.
For me, I like Coors Banquet. That's always
That's what I wanted to choose.
Local craft-wise, if I'm in the grocery store, I'm more than likely going to grab a six-pack Hans Pils.
Well, thank you for the conversation and the insight and the final recommendations. Yes.
Thank you.